Is Somalia a failed state?
Absolutely not. On the contrary. The transitional federal government, since it was formed, was never really able to move to the capital city of Mogadishu. The peace agreements that were reached with the various factions and groups were never honored by other parties. It was only in early 2007 that the government was able to move to Mogadishu. So if we're talking about starting from January of 2007, we're talking about 6 months at most, where the government had a real chance to function, to test its abilities. And I think you would agree that 6 months is not a long enough time to see whether the government is failing or working.
How real is the threat of Al-Qaeda in Somalia?
International terrorism is very real in Somalia. It's also very well documented. A number of people have been apprehended in Mogadishu. Some of them are international citizens, not Somalis. And so the connections are there, and it's very well documented. The government is continuously fighting against terrorists. It is coordinating with friendly countries, sharing intelligence, and so forth. As we all know, that Osama bin Laden and his deputy spoke several times, specifically on the subject of Somalia, and instructed their supporters in Somalia to attack the government. And that is ultimately what happened shortly after that speech.
What is the role of the U.S. military in Somalia?
The U.S. government is supporting the transitional federal government in its fight against international terrorists. And there were perhaps technical and coordination and sharing of intelligence, but there is no presence of U.S. military in Somalia.
What is your government's plan to fix Somalia?
First, in the current phase, stabilizing the country is the first priority. Securing its borders and protecting the people of Somalia against international terrorists is a priority. Police training and recruitment and rebuilding of the whole national army has to continue. This is a priority number one. But at the same time, as I said earlier, reestablishing state administrations has to go along with this process, while at the same time, drafting a constitution has to take place, census have to be taken, a referendum on the draft constitution has to be held. Following that, elections have to be held, ultimately. And that is the plan of the transitional federal government.